Hello, everybody, and welcome to the afternoon tune. Today we have an interview going on. Today the interview is with writer Anthony Stokes. How you doing there, Anthony?
I'm doing fantastic. Thanks for having me.
He is a returning, first returning kind of guest interview that we have, so that was pretty nice. Hit me up. He's doing a promotional tour for issue 2 of his comic Decay here,
There we go.
which I have a copy of. This is the first edition copy. Maybe I should always keep it in the plastic. Never know. This could be worth a lot of money. This could be like Spider-Man issue number 1. So just in case, you know what I mean. I'm gonna keep it, out of the plastic. I've only taken it out of the plastic once or twice to read it, refresh kind of my memory on the story, and look at the beautiful artwork that is in here. Artwork that we're gonna also see with issue number 2. I'm gonna make sure not to scroll to past too many panels because I don't want people to get spoiled on the second issue and everything like that. So that's really nice. How are you doing there, man?
I'm doing good. Campaign's not going too bad. Just happy to keep it rolling.
Very good to hear. Were you the kind of that type of person as a kid? You like to kind of keep stuff under wraps, where you kind of, or just played with, toys, comics, books, everything like that? Did you have anything that you kind of wait to kind of keep under wraps, or did you just immediately open it?
I would open this shit. I didn't take care of my toys. Like I did not have that foresight to like keep
Yeah.
things in plastic. So I appreciate that.
Yeah, yeah. If people only knew, if you bought those kind of Star Wars toys or Pokemon cards or whatever, and the baseball cards, and all these years later, that stuff is worth $20,000, $30,000. It's like, yeah,
Oh yeah.
it's
It's interesting. Like essentially for something to have to raise in value, it has to be worth like next to nothing initially, and everybody has to have access to it, which is really interesting.
mm,
Like anybody could have walked up to like a newsstand and bought like Action Comics #1
hmm
and been rich, but nobody did except a few people. Like it's
yeah,
interesting.
yeah, but yeah, I was definitely one of those people. I never could wait because that's just absolute torture. Imagine being 5 years old, you can't open the new Han Solo action figure. 8 or 10, it's like, geez, you just
Yeah,
want to take it out of the box. But yeah, that just sucks. But
some
uh,
foresight.
yeah, but it's good to kind of have you on. So with this kind of new promotional tour that you've been on for issue number 2, what has pretty much changed for you since we first time we talked interview? How long ago was that interview? About what, 6
Probably like
months?
7 months. That was in August, maybe September. So what is that like nine? Like probably like 6 7 months,
Okay.
if not eight. Yeah, 7 months I think is probably accurate.
Okay. So what have you been kind of doing differently compared to that, and what has kind of happened over that course of time in the 7 months?
I'm a lot more into the promotional side of things and the distribution side. I've learned from that first campaign a lot. Um, I I made it a mission to have issue 2 printed out well in advance of the Kickstarter. So I can fulfill like as soon as the Kickstarter ends, I can like start shipping things out. Which is the sooner you pledge, the sooner you fulfill and everything, the better. I want to have I want to have a record of fulfilling fast. You know,
Mm.
I'm on Twitter a lot more. I'm doing a lot more promotion. I'm getting myself out there more. I'm doing like a large number of interviews, a lot of Twitter Spaces.
Mm.
So just more promo, understanding the business side a little bit better, margins, um, getting myself out there, just more promo essentially.
Yeah, because I was looking. I saw you did some interviews with keeping it geekly. I saw you did one
Yeah,
there. You also did one with Two Geeks Talking. I see Chris P Nuggets gaming and interviews. I also see one with Nerd Musica. So you've been
yeah.
doing quite a few interviews. So
I think
I'm
I've done like 15 so far.
nice, nice, very nice. Yeah. So you've been,
Yeah.
yeah, making the circuits, making the rounds. Uh, Kind of with the first issue, were you doing that many interviews that much? How many interviews do you think you did with the first issue?
Four.
Just 4. Okay.
4. Yeah. Now I'm
So
doing like almost like 8 times that essentially.
so that's good. That's a lot of great progress.
Hmm.
And with this kind of second issue, what were kind of the success you were building off with the first issue? What kind of great things you saw there with that first issue, and what kind of failures did you see there, and what kind of did you apply to this with this second issue as far as success and failures goes of how to improve those things?
It one you work. I'm working with my artist now for almost 2 years, so that got better. I'm understanding. I mean, even when I with issue one, I printed like 3 or 4 different kind of templates as far as gloss covers, the matte covers, just trying to get the perfect combination. So that took a while. And so now I know, okay, this particular brand, or not brand, but this particular setting on the comic books gives me the best results. So even that was a thing, because I want to do, like, for me, I'm focused on infrastructure as far as, okay, finding the best way to do something in the cheapest and most efficient way. So I have that now. So it's like easy, you know what I'm saying? Like, okay, all I have to do is get the PDFs ready, and then I can get copies to me within a week and a half, if necessary. So it's just a lot. It's a lot of experience. And what I took away from it was, like, don't be afraid to, like, fall on your face, like, embrace the L, you know what I'm saying? Like, learn the lessons, get better. And somebody talked to me about the idea of failing fast. And the ideal of failing fast means that you try something and you immediately identify, is this working or is it not? If it's not working, you pivot. If it's working, you double down. So that's something I've embraced as well.
It reminds me of a question I'm going to ask you a little bit, but just to give people some kind of general information, you want to tell people just kind of general information about yourself, about your comic, and a little bit about your journey here.
Absolutely, yeah. So I was originally a screenwriter. Still am a screenwriter. I still would love to make a movie. That's still my end goal. And I switched to comic books because it was easier to make a comic book than a movie. With like $6,000, I could make something that could fit on your wall back there. Like some that is, like, identifiable as high quality. Like, and you can't do that for a movie, short film. Like, you need a lot more money for that. So that was mainly it. And, just wrote issue one, just got beat up, but came back for more. That's basically it.
And what about your background? Like, where'd you grow up? Things like that. What about that?
Okay, yeah, absolutely. I grew up in Manassas, Virginia, which is it is like 40 minutes outside of DC. Pretty decent town. I think my childhood is like a lot of consuming media, like manga, movies, TV shows, novels. I just, anything I can get my hands on. Essentially, as a kid, I would just read. I used to go to the library, and I would have like a stack of manga this high, like Dragon Ball Z, Death Note, Shonen Jumps type shit. And I would just will it down and then go home and do it again the next day. So that's mostly it. Like, my childhood was mostly just consuming media.
Okay, and you're kind of your age range. What is your age, by the way? I don't really know.
28.
20. Okay, so you're basically the same age as me, basically.
Mm-hmm.
And so you were kind of growing up during that period, mid 90s, early 2000s. So you did have a lot of those shows, stuff like Cartoon Network that was on, a lot of that anime.
Oh yeah.
That was on there. Things like Death Note, things like Dragon Ball, that was huge. Full Metal Alchemist, Cowboy Bebop, and then you also had the American cartoons. You had Johnny Bravo and you had Powerpuff Girls and all that stuff like that. So you are a very person who is consumed a lot of media. Do you find consuming a lot of media? Some people might think that it hinders some people because you see all these flaws and it's hard to maybe come up with original story. Or do you think that seeing all this media helps you to identify the flaws and write a better story? What do you?
It essentially allows you to reverse engineer something.
Okay.
I can look at a movie, break down, this is why it works. These are the elements. I come up with techniques. Like, I approach watching movies like watching game film, like an athlete would watch game film. Like, identify what worked and what didn't work. So I can understand wanting to be in like a bubble and like, hey, I don't want to get influenced, but being original is not a concern for me. I mean, Decay is essentially Frankenstein, modern day Frankenstein. two things. One, nothing is original, you know, like you're gonna stress yourself out and get beat up by a blank page if you're trying to do something that doesn't. I saw this post, and there's this really reductive line of thinking that is Harry Potter's a ripoff of Star Wars, but and I don't know how. I think you screenwrite as well, but we're writers. But I don't even think you need to be a writer to understand that like the hero's journey, like Star Wars is a ripoff. Like Star Wars is like the equivalent of that time of like the MCU essentially. Like it's drawing from all these inspirations. It's drawing
Right.
from World War II, samurai movies, like monks.
Cowboy.
You know what I'm saying? So,
Yeah.
cowboy, is Western. You know,
Yeah.
so it doesn't make sense to me to then say Harry Potter is a ripoff of Star Wars because you that lets me know you don't know about story. You know what I'm saying? So there's that. That's an example of like, hey, Harry Potter is not original, but it works, obviously. Two, as a creator, I don't want to say rip off, but it is a lot easier to get something made that resembles another IP. So the big example, I can't think of any other examples, was the Twilight fan fiction 50 Shades of Grey. That had an inherent fan base because it was a ripoff of Twilight, right? Like it's a
Do
built-in audience.
Do you think the fan base of Twilight and the fan base of 50 Shades of Grey intersect? Because I thought mainly the fans of Twilight were more like teen girls, and then the fans of 50 Shades of
Yeah.
Grey were more like middle-aged housewife
Well, they
women.
probably grew up with Twilight. Well, what I'm saying is that okay, let me rephrase that. It's associated with an IP immediately.
Oh,
So
okay.
there's already brand recognition. So you're right. I would also say that probably people with Twilight grew up with it, but you know, you're right. Absolutely. So it's almost more advantageous to make something that resembles something else. You know what I'm saying? Like because then when I'm at a con, people can see something. It's like, oh, that's like Deadpool. I like Deadpool. Like so don't worry about being original. Like that's the last thing I'm worried about is trying to be original.
And when you try to like pitch your idea, because I don't know, like if you've tried to pitch your idea somewhere, maybe to a studio or maybe to other kind of executives, producers, anything like that. I don't remember who said it, but somebody said it's maybe not a good idea to pitch your thing as well. My thing's kind of like this, or it's kind of like that. Do you think that's a good or bad idea to say like?
So I've never pitched to a studio, and I truthfully don't plan on it. So I to me, I would question that information. That because a studio was trying to do another thing, like the studio. You okay? So we all agree that like we're getting a lot of recycled ideas. So if you would agree to that first point, I don't get the point that a studio wouldn't want you to reference something else. I think the studio would want you to sell them on the thing first, and then say, "Oh yeah, here's a common demographic. Here that this has a similar demographic as Deadpool, for instance."
Right.
That yes, you do want a solid pitch. You don't want to walk up and be like, "Yeah, I got the next Deadpool." Sure, but I would think it would be advantageous to a studio to say, "This is something. This is like something kind of popular. We can run with this." You know what I'm saying?
So to offer kind of some similarities, like, well, my thing is kind of like this, but with a little dash of this and a little dash of that, maybe kind of come in there, like kind of like that way.
I would have a good elevator pitch. I would have a good synopsis, and then I would sprinkle that in. That's the icing on the cake of a good pitch. And I think people also need to get better at pitching. Like an elevator pitch, like you need to master that shit because some people get so caught up in their own ideas. You ask them like, "What's your comic book about?" And it's like they don't even tell you about the or they dive in. It's like, "Oh, it's two warring factions, the this and then that and the year blah blah blah." It's like you get so much lower they can't even articulate what the idea even is. So you want to be careful with that too.
And because you're going to conventions now, were you going to conventions where you were doing issue one?
Damn. I think it was immediately after issue one I went to a con. So when last time we spoke, no, I was not going to cons. It was in the works, but I had not gone to a con.
So tell me about your experience being at cons.
Bro, it's weird. I ain't gonna hold you. Like it's kind of like what you might think. Like it's a bunch of like a lot of it is cool, but a lot of it is like, for instance, all right. So there are these two guys in what Ghostface mask, like Scream, like they had the whole screen get up, and I'm looking at them, and they point at me, and they walk over and stand beside my booth, and I get that it's all fun and games, but I'm also like, bro, like I gotta sit here and talk to customers and stuff. One, you might be scaring off customers, and two, I gotta watch you because I don't know who you are. Right. It's all fun and games for you, but I don't know what that is. You know what I'm saying? So like, and then they take the mask off as like two scrawny like white kids. It's like, yeah, like y'all need to relax. So it's an interesting bro. Honestly, it could be its own pod, dog. Like we can have Stokes' con adventures like another time, bro, because it's so much. You know what I mean? Like, but it's, if I had to say, like at a con for me, it's like I'm sitting there kind of by myself, just chilling while everybody else is. It's like kind of lonely because you're like by yourself typically. Because when you go to these cons, it's not like a bunch of people doing comic books. It's a bunch of people doing other IPs. Like I saw there's this one people, I don't know the name, but they crochet Pokemon, like little Pokemon plushies, right? I've seen them a couple of times. It's some people that do art prints of like Superman, Batman, and a lot of things. What a lot of people do is that they do an art print of Batman, so that gets the consumer's eyes, and then I also do my own stuff too. They kind of slide that in front of them. So a lot of it is honestly intellectual property theft. That's like what a lot of cons are. I mean, you can't determine the difference between like some of these kind of booths and like the Funko Pop section of GameStop. You know what I'm saying? Like it's not a lot of original creators. They almost look at you with a comic book like, what the fuck is this? Like, this guy's selling comic books at a Comic-Con? Like, my pitch is like, yo, do you like comics? And then people will be like, oh, yeah, I hate comics. Like, I'm being like, it's a stupid question. And then I'll ask again, and somebody's like, no, I don't like comics. You know what I'm saying? So it's like it's a lot, bro. Like I said, it's its own. It's a lot.
So what conventions have you been to?
Hampton Comic-Con. This is all in like the Virginia Beach area. Hampton Comic-Con. I went to Virginia Toy and Game Show. I went to Fairfax Con. I went to the Wilmington Comic-Con. Wilmington Geek Expo. Excuse me. So I've only done 4 of them. I'm still learning about the whole process.
And which one was like the biggest one with the biggest attendance, you think?
Hampton Comic-Con. Okay. And Hampton Comic-Con was also, I had the smallest inventory. Like I know you've seen the posters. I had the poster and I had the main copy of issue 1. And it was a massacre, bro. Like I was like, I had this big like 10-foot table. Like I got the biggest table because I didn't know better. And I was just kind of spreading stuff out. And I did a lot of business because like, I don't know if you know the Hampton area. Are you Navy?
Army.
Okay, you're Army. Okay, cool. So, it's a lot of black people essentially. So, like, I did make a lot of sales, but like, it was not a good booth. You know what I'm saying? But now I'm doing that next or later this year, and I'm excited because I'm like, okay, now I got like multiple issues. Like when you have the 2 issues, it's like before it was like, okay, people are buying multiple issues. Like they'll buy issue 1, but different variant covers, like to help me out. But now I'm like, okay, you can buy issue 1 and 2. You know what I'm saying? Like if you buy issue 1, you might as well buy issue 2. You know what I'm saying? Like,
and how much do you sell them for? Like at the cons?
$7 now. It used to be $5 just because the margins, the printer, there's a paper shortage, so the cost of printing has gone up. It's so expensive to print now. You know, I would love to offer for $5, but then what am I doing? Like it's like, let's say it's $3 to print a comic book. It's, let's say 50 cents for the back and board because I'll give a back and board they ask. You know, so that's like a profit of $1.50. So how many do I have to sell to make back an $85 table? You know, I'm not even paying for the table at that. You know, so and it's high. I mean, you felt the print, like it's a high quality print. You know what I'm saying? Like you get a lot of comic books and like the big 2, like their quality's not that good. You know what I'm saying? You ever pick up a comic book like it's like thin, the paper is like, but this is high quality print. But you have to get a lot of people don't care about the quality. Like that's a fact. They don't care about the quality. You know what I'm saying? Like that's they hear that $7. I would sell way more for that $5. But then again, I'm not really making any. I'm barely breaking even at that point.
Yeah. So when you're at kind of these conventions and getting people's attention, like, is it kind of like when you're on the street and you're trying to maybe, pass out something, talk to people kind of on the street? Is it kind of like that similar vibe? Because I've been in a situation where I've done kind of canvassing, things like that, where you try to get people's
Yeah.
attention, tabling, where it's like, okay, hey, and then people are kind of walking by you, not even paying attention to you, ignoring you, maybe make eye contact with you, but then quickly look away. Is it kind of like that similar thing?
It's
Like,
better than that because people are there to spend money. So I think there is an expectation for most people that you would talk to them, but but it is kind of like that. Like there are people that are like, I'm just here for my kids. I'm like, okay, respectfully. This one dude was like, I don't have any money. Like I was like, why are you like what is here for you if you don't have money? You know what I'm saying? Like so, it has like those kind of vibes though sometimes. Yeah, I'll lie to you.
okay. And so how do you really get people's attention? Do you just kind of like make the eye contact? Do you just kind of just say like what
I
kind
said,
of
do you like comics? Do you
Okay.
like comics? And they say yes or no. If they say no, hey, you should check mine out. I made this one. It might get you back into it. They say yes. Oh, I made this comic book. So
And then are most
it's
people interested in supporting an indie creator? No.
fuck no. Fuck no. No. It's almost like a lot of pity buys. You know what I'm saying? Like, but because again, like even as an indie creator, if I stepped outside myself, what's cooler? This big ass Batman print that I can frame and hold up. This really cool Jigglypuff crochet thing. A pop funk. I don't like pop Funko dolls, but let's say it's something that actually has use, like an action figure or some shit like that. Do you want that, or you want this comic book that you don't even know if it's good or not? You know what I'm saying? Like
Right.
I understand the mindset. You know what I'm saying? Like I get it. Now I understand that I want to support indie creators because I do this, but I'm looking through the eyes of the consumer. I totally get why you would walk past. You know what I'm saying? Like I get it.
And does that kind of frustrate you as a creator, when so many people kind of talk about how they want original things, they want original stories, but yet they go back to the same old kind of conventional things, the IPs they've seen?
Yeah. You know me pretty. Yeah, absolutely. Like this shit pissed me off. Here's my thing. Here's my thing. In like, if we are praising diversity on, like, if we're giving Marvel credit for, let's say, making Black Panther, even though at that point that was a fail free. That was a home run. You know what I'm saying? Like Chadwick Boseman, Ryan Coogler, off of Civil War, peak Marvel, before Infinity War. You know what I'm saying? Like it was a slam dunk. You know what I'm saying? Like we have to praise it on the smaller level. You know what I mean? Because it's a trickle up effect essentially. If you want the big stuff to be diverse, you have to support the little stuff. And I see a lot of people that have like Blur or Black Lives Matter in their Twitter bio, Instagram bio, and I'll hit them up and they don't even respond back. And I feel like if you have that in your bio, you at least owe me a response, to do a podcast appearance, to do an Instagram live or something like that, So it frustrates me. Hypocrisy frustrates me in general. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah, I mean, I kind of have the same thoughts when it comes to like when the Oscars so white conversations come up and people say we need more diversity at the Oscars. I mean, I think you can only really fix that situation if you start from the ground up. If you get kids, interested in editing and filmmaking and writing, arts, but a lot of that stuff gets cut, especially in public schools. There's not funding for those things. But you got to start from that ground up, you know what I mean, to get those kind of more, directors, writers, producers, what I mean, production designers, things like that, in the business in order to, have more of these movies that are out. So I think, it has to kind of start from there. And, like I said, bringing it in kind of, with the whole situation of having these movies like Black Panther. And I'm going to kind of get your, discussions a little bit more on kind of big movies in general kind of going on now. And what are the trends of the kind of those big movies?
okay.
But yeah, with kind of, like that, like the movie Black Panther, which was, big and, at the time and said maybe it couldn't fail.
Huge. It couldn't fail. Is that unreasonable to say?
Well, I think that Eternals, I mean, you see that. I mean, you see like some movies do not maybe perform as well. And Eternals, I know it did have some issues with, it got pushed back and COVID and maybe some of those things, but it didn't perform as well as people thought it was.
Well, I think, and listen to what I said though. I said it's before Infinity War, right? So like, Black Panther is just before the apex of the MCU. You know what I'm saying? Like there are people that argue Phase 4 is just Phase 1 all over again in terms of scope. Jack, Eternals is kind of weird. Like Eternals is kind of like this weird kind of like Jack Kirby thing, but we've already seen Black Panther from Civil War.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
We know Ryan Coogler is a great director. We know Chadwick Boseman is a great actor. We know Lupita Nyong'o is a great actor. You know what I'm saying? So when I say that, I'm saying like, okay, like things could fail, but Eternals in Black Panther aren't a 1-to-1. You know what I'm saying? Like the movie would have to suck. And there's a lot of people that don't think Black Panther is that good. You know what I'm saying? Like there's a lot of people that think it's not peak Marvel. Let's leave it at that.
Yeah, I would kind of agree with that statement. I mean, I don't hate the movie. I don't extremely love it. I think it's okay. I just think
it's not bad, but it's like it is what it is. But I say that to say that like again, Black Panther came out because 60 years ago somebody decided to make a black comic book character. And even when Disney could have done it in Phase 1 or 2, it took them until Phase 3.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So I think you're right. It's you need to support it at a ground level. And I'm mixed about teaching kids like editing and stuff like that in schools because I feel like if you want to do something, you'll seek it out. But yeah, I mean, it does start from a younger generation, and you're seeing a younger generation popping up and making these great movies that are diverse. I just saw Everything Everywhere All at Once.
Amazing movie.
Oh my God, one of the best movies I've ever seen. So you're getting those. You know what I'm saying? Like, hopefully, at least for me, Ryan Coogler will step away from not Black Panther, but the MCU and do some more. Like the stuff he was doing before. You have Daveed Diggs. He did Blind Spot. Like it's a lot of people coming up, and it's definitely the landscape is going to change a lot. But again, you have to. Why not make it easier for those guys? Why not make it easier to find the next Daveed Diggs? I saw this. And I met somebody at a con. They were like, "Yo, check out this person. They like indie horror. They like black indie horror." Person's a huge Jordan Peele fan, right? They're like, "Oh man, I'm so excited for Nope." I hit him up. I say, "Hey, your friend told me, maybe I got the name wrong, maybe because I mentioned your friend, I might have gotten the name wrong, but left me on red." And I'm like, for all you know, I could be the next Jordan Peele. Like, is that unreasonable to say? Like that sounds crazy, but it's not. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's at least worth a response. You know what I'm saying? So I do. Yeah. I'm backtracking, but yeah, that shit does frustrate me.
Yeah. And I think somebody might be listening to this and might go, "Oh, are you saying that only support black people just because they're black or just because they're a woman or whatever X just because it's like am I supposed to do that?" I don't think
that's not what we're saying.
That's not what we're saying. I'm just saying, like, if you're gonna take a chance, if you say, like, if you're a big person who pushes for more original new black characters or more of this or more of that new stuff, it's like, well, maybe actually put your money where your mouth is and actually support kind of that smaller stuff coming up so you can see the next Stan Lee or Jack Kirby or whoever, what I mean, in kind of those situations, or black directors, what I mean, like a Spike Lee or like a Ryan Coogler, maybe just kind of put your money where your mouth is in that situation. And then in kind of to kind of go back to a question I was going to ask you before the convention question. So kind of being a guy, what I mean, you're 28 years old. When did you kind of start really pursuing that passion? What age did you really start doing that?
Freshman year of high school. So I was probably like 15.
Okay.
I'd seen Inglourious Bastards and Superbad. And I said, I want to do, like, I always had the idea. Like, I always kind of knew that I was like, okay, I want to do, like, I need to do this.
And following that kind of passion, I mean, do you ever feel there is a time clock on being successful? Because I was talking to another musician that I did an interview with, as far as that, coming to that age, maybe getting 30. And then I also saw that movie with Andrew Garfield. I don't know if you've seen it, Tick, Tick, Boom, where, it's a movie where he plays Jonathan Larson, and, he's a guy.
Rent.
He made Rent. And he's kind of freaking out in that movie, being a guy that's 29, about to turn 30. He's like, I should be successful by now. I should be big by now.
Yeah.
I should have this by now. Do you kind of feel that way? A little bit of like I should be hitting certain milestones by certain points, and do you feel like there's a rush on that, on being, hitting those milestones?
There's three answers. For me, yes. I personally feel pressure because even 3 years ago, when I started making this, when I was hungry, I have lost some of the hunger. You know what I'm saying? Like I was working 60-hour weeks, writing like 12, 15 pages of script a week. I can't do that shit anymore. You know what I'm saying? So there is a level of, it's like when I know you like, I know you, at least you're familiar with sports, but like there's a line where like there's experience and then there's athletic peak. And when you hit that apex, that's when the players at their best. That's what they say their prime is. So you want to hit your prime as soon as possible. You know what I'm saying? So yes, I feel pressure. I feel pressure because I feel like I should be further along. The second part of the answer is that I don't blame myself. I blame other people, truthfully. Like to me, I feel like I made a good product. I offer a lot of advice and help other people out. And I've done everything. Like I said, I'm doing 30, 40 interviews. You know what I'm saying? Like the onus is not on me at this point. I made the product. I got it out early. I'm doing the press. If I fail at this point, it's because other people aren't stepping up and doing what they need to do. From my perspective, people can disagree. That's just how I see things. The third answer is that objectively, no. Like it's not true that you need to do things at a certain age. That's not true. But the reality is that, like I said, things are going to get easier as you're younger. You know what I'm saying? Like a lot of this stuff is really mentally taxing, is physically taxing. I'm going to take a break from comic book making to like get right, like physically. You know what I'm saying? Like it's not easy. So I think you should at least get the ball rolling in your 20s, right? Like you should at least get like an LLC. You should at least like take a class. Watch some video and say something at least. But I don't think there's some marketing. I don't think there's a point where it's like, oh, it's too late for you. You know what I'm saying? Because a lot of successful people you see in your field are going to be older than you. Like, how old is Ryan Coogler? Ryan Coogler's probably like in his mid to late 30s, but we look at him like some young director, and he is. But I'm gonna look up the age of Ryan Coogler right now.
Yeah, because I think didn't he start originally like playing football? I think originally, and then he transitioned to filmmaking. I think he played a sport. I think originally. Before he started playing, before he started in there. But Ryan Coogler, I mean, also it helps that he is kind of a young-looking guy. Stays in shape. It looks like that he's 35 years old.
He's 35. So he is young. To be clear, he is young. To be clear, even Jordan Peele, who's probably like probably in his like at least his early 40s, is still young to be a director. You know what I'm saying? So it's like it's all relative. So you got to keep that in mind. But you also have to keep in mind that, like, we talked about, if he was an athlete, that means he had a mindset, he had a drive that you have, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, he had a drive, essentially. Like, he knows how to prepare himself. He knows how to get ready. He has discipline. You need to start working on that stuff as soon as possible. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You can't wake up and be like, oh, I'm 40. I want to make comic books and expect the same results. Not to be more before your career is over than me, who's starting at 28. I'm getting 12 years up on you. So, there's it's a nuanced answer, I feel.
Yeah. And the thing like Jordan Peele, I mean, he also was in the business for a long time. That also helps. I mean, he was like, I forgot how old he was when he was on Mad TV. But I mean, he's been in the business for
that was like early 2000s, right?
Yeah. So he's been
probably in his 20s.
Probably, yeah. Probably in his 20s. So he's been in the business for quite a bit.
He's been in business for a long time.
Yeah.
And you're probably not going to go to film school or comedy school in your early to your early 20s and then get on Mad TV and then do Key and Peele. Like, it's probably not going to happen like that, Like, and I'm not trying to like diminish what he's saying, what he's doing. It's actually the opposite. He worked at it from a younger age, and because of that, he's seeing the fruits of it early. And when he's 40, he's going to be telling stories for a long time.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. It reminds me kind of another creator. I don't know if you watch Abbott Elementary. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and the
Well, I don't watch it, but I'm familiar with it.
and the creator of the show, Quinta Bronson, she's kind of the creator of the show. And I watched her back when she was kind of doing the
On
Instagram.
Vine.
We said?
She was on Vine.
Oh yeah, Vine. She was doing Vine, doing kind of those videos there, and now she was doing that kind of for a while. And then now she has her own network TV show. She's only I think in her early 30s. So I guess my
Yeah.
question there is with kind of a lot of people, kind of coming up. I think it maybe is a little bit easier than it was 20, 40 years ago when you do have these outlets like TikTok. That's a new big thing now. You do have Instagram where people can make these sketches and things like that. And people are very creative with their YouTube videos. That's, people learn about editing and
YouTube is almost like it's almost like a fossil at this point.
yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like you don't go on YouTube to build an audience. You know what I'm saying? Like, so yeah, I mean, here's what I will say. The floor has been raised in the music. Like when people say that rap is trash, they're wrong because there's more good music that comes out than you could possibly. Oh, there's more rap music than you could possibly listen to. With SoundCloud, with Spotify, for $4.99, I can hear more new music than I could possibly listen to. Right? If I listen to Spotify for 24 hours, I could not ingest all the new rap music that comes out. That's probably a lie, but for the sake of argument, like I said, you can take a $6,000 comic book that can rival any other comic book in the world if you have the talent and you have a good artist. And so it is, and then you have all these marketing, and if you understand how these platforms work, you can blow up. Like there is a path to success. The key is to one, make a good product. Two, how do you market said product? So the question you have to ask yourself is your product good? If you think so, then how do we get it out there? And to get it out there, you have TikTok, you have Twitter, you have Facebook, you have YouTube, you have Twitch. They all have their own little things. They have their, like for instance, Twitter, or Facebook even. What I did was I tweeted, "Who wants to support my Kickstarter?" without the link, right? Why did I do that? Because when you tweet out something with a link, Twitter throttles it down because they want you to pay for advertising. So then I tweet out the tweet and I have the link in my bio and I have the pinned tweet. And people were like, well, you forgot the link. I didn't forget the link. Like, that's because I understand how Twitter works. So if you have a good product, again, and you understand how all these platforms work, then you're gonna be successful.
I mean, because I know people still trying to figure. I mean, there's people been on the platform of YouTube for years and still don't feel like still don't know how it works, the algorithm, everything like that, and then some rules of what certain things are allowed and certain things.
YouTube is not a good, like, people are leaving YouTube, like, and there's so much integration now with like different things. Is that it's almost like you funnel your other stuff to YouTube. You don't get like Twitch. You don't get popping on Twitch. You get popping when you take your Twitch clips and post it on TikTok and Twitter and Instagram, and that funnels people to your Twitch. You can have great content. It's going to take you a long time to build it because these companies are so much about the dollar. These are companies, right? These are businesses. It does not behoove them to give every single Twitch streamer the platform to blow up. You know what I'm saying? Like, you want Mr. Beast. You know what I'm saying? You want a big creator who is a guaranteed 20, 30 million, 40 million views a video. That's what you want. You don't want a bunch, you know what I'm saying? Like, so these platforms are, it's very hard. And there's a trick to learning them. And Mr. Beast, did you see the Mr. Beast Joe Rogan interview?
I did not. No, I did not.
He talked about like how him and three of his friends, all they would do would Skype every day and talk about YouTube and how the algorithm works. He said that he would look at certain viral clips and adjust the brightness based on what other thumbnails that were popular videos. He's learned how to go viral essentially, and anybody can do that. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you can learn how to go viral, then you see Doja Cat. Doja Cat is a great example. She made that. She's probably an artist for a while. She made that cow song, got canceled, and she's and she's blowing like she's still going. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, imagine if she didn't make that damn cow song. You know what I'm saying? Like, so it's it's so many ways to find an audience these days. It's great.
Yeah. So he's like he's cracked the code of going viral, basically.
Yeah, and you look. He's a great person to look at. He's the most successful. You look at it. It's like his premise is almost like, what if you gave a little kid $5 million for a video? It's like it's extreme hide and seek. They rebuilt Squid Games. You know what I'm saying? It's like he has his thumb on the pulse of finger on the pulse of what makes a video pop. If you can do that for what makes Twitch videos pop, what makes comic books pop, like you will be successful. Like, it's a fact.
Yeah. Now that you've kind of had more of a bigger presence on social media, really trying to get out there more, are you ever worried about some of the stuff you say there, and then maybe possibly following you at all now that you kind of have trying to do the more big stuff?
I'm laughing because we have you know how I get. No, not really, because I gotta be genuine, and I think it's a balancing act, right? Between, like, me personally, I like to name drop. I like to drop names because that's how I feel. You know what I'm saying? But I don't want to be so spicy as to make you uncomfortable, for instance, right? Like, I don't want you to be in the chair like, oh. So it's a balancing act. But in reality, there are a lot of people that have hot takes that blow up. Skip Bayless. You know what I'm saying? Like, we just talked about Doja Cat and we don't have to get into the specifics, but the shit that came up about her was so weird, and she's still strong. So I'm really not worried about it because I can explain stuff, and if something comes up, you say, look, and I even frame it like that. It's not like I'm saying stuff that's like racist or anything. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just like,
right.
Yeah, I think us was mid. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's not gonna, if that comes and bites me in the ass, then fuck it. I'll die on that cross. That shit sucked. So that's how I feel about it personally.
Yeah. I think that, when you bring up kind of these people like Skip Bayless, and I don't know. I mean, I've seen interviews with other people, and they say like, well, no, that's genuine him. He's not playing a character. He's not, playing a troll. Even though sometimes, I don't know. I still think maybe.
No, they're wrong. They're wrong. Well, I think he's playing a version of himself. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like, he's probably not as crazy as there is like a grain of truth. You know what I'm saying? It's almost like a Curb Your Enthusiasm. Like, Larry David is probably a bit of a dickhead. You know what I'm saying? Like,
right.
He's probably not as big of a dickhead as Larry from Curb Your Enthusiasm, but he's drawing inspiration from somewhere.
Yeah. And so I think with people like that, with personalities like that, do you think like that kind of negativity is going to get more attention than outward positivity?
It depends, man. It depends. I think it's a mix. I think you have to have a healthy mix. Like, me personally, I was on Twitter and I was squeaky clean because I was so worried about rubbing people the wrong way. But now I'll do a hot take thread when I'm in my Twitter space with my friends. I kind of get a little crazy. Like, oh yeah, Black Panther suck, for example. You don't want to be a robot, right? Like, you want people to know how you actually are. Like, having a personality is important. That's the key. It's charisma, because Skip Bayless does have a lot of charisma. Like, it's not deniable. If you have charisma, you can have any kind of personality you want. If you have charisma and know how to market yourself, then yeah, it doesn't matter. You can have negative content, positive content, religious content, anything, and you're gonna blow up.
Yeah. I mean, trying to kind of be more bigger on these kind of platforms. There are some things, trying to be more active on Twitter. I don't think I'm a big Twitter guy, but I try to, tweet out stuff more and more. And I do kind of second guess myself a little bit on, if this is okay to tweet. Like, I thought about tweeting. I think it was pretty funny, But you know what I mean. But then I kind of was like, nah, probably not. Because and the thing I was gonna
It's
tweet,
not just you, bro.
and the thing I was gonna say is I was gonna say like the Northmen, white people finally have their Black Panther. I was gonna tweet that out, but then I was just like, maybe I don't want to get into a lot of threads and things like that. But I kind of have kind of situations like that sometimes. So do you kind
Hmm.
of feel that it's like maybe I shouldn't be saying this because maybe I don't want to get the wrong attention or
Yeah, everybody. Twitter is like it's like the finger gun scene from The Office.
mm,
Like it's like everybody's kind of a little bit tense. Everybody's kind of a little nervous. Like
mm,
you don't want to fire the first shot. But yeah, no, I deleted so many tweets. Like,
mm,
and I'm like I said, it's a balance. I'm trying to like get my personality out there. Now, don't get me wrong. Like people fuck with me on Twitter because I'll help out a lot of creators.
mm,
I made myself available to any creator that wants help. You know what I'm saying? So it is I feel like I do have a brand of like a good mix of like toxicity and positivity. You know what I'm saying?
mm.
Like, so there's a point where you want to be at, but everybody feels that way. What I would say to you is that Twitter is a great marketing tool. Like Twitter is fantastic at meeting other creators and getting tips and stuff like that. Like just like I said, Mr. Beast. There is no Mr. Beast if he didn't get with his buddies and talking on Skype for 15 hours a day. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah, I will say, being on Twitter, meeting other podcasts, talking to other people who run podcasts, seeing what they kind of do, collabing with other people, it does kind of help. Elijah
mhm.
Bell, he's in the chat. He mentions, Twitter, especially with the passing of Kevin Samuels. I don't know if you know who Kevin Samuels is. Well, I guess by that reaction, I guess
You
you do.
caught me off guard.
I guess
You caught me. I'm so
I guess
sorry.
by that reaction, I guess you do know who he is. But
I don't know who that is, man. I
oh, you
have
don't
no.
know. Oh, you don't know who
No,
that
I'm
is.
fucking with you. I
Okay.
know exactly who that. That was
Oh,
a big storm. Yeah, that's a
yeah.
big storm.
So yeah, for people who don't know, I mean Kevin Samuels. Uh,
Professional misogynist.
I mean, maybe some people have their own split opinions on him,
You're
but
right. You're
but
right. My fault.
YouTuber, relationship dating coach. He recently passed away. He was 57
R.I.P.
years 57 years old, and then at first it started off as kind of like a rumor. People were like, wait, is he dead? And it kind of trended on Twitter. He was even trending up in the United States next to Doctor Strange. Like that's how much it was trending. I think at one point it even topped Doctor Strange in the United States. I think.
Jesus Christ,
That's
bro.
how much it was. People were talking about it, I believe.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then you see like when he passed, it was like a lot of people celebrating his death, and a lot of people wishing him the best of luck.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean Twitter is kind of it's a crazy place.
It's a cesspool. It is a cesspool now. Like it is shitty. Like there is that other side of that coin. You just have to find a little corner of Twitter and just like lock in and find some people you. But like yeah, here's my problem with Twitter is that the discourse is always shitty. It's always the people on this side, and I'm not talking about politics. I'm literally talking about like there's people on this side and people on this side, and they're not trying to meet in the middle to like, okay, this guy was probably complicated. Calling him a professional misogynist is probably like a bit harsh. No, he's either Satan spawn or he's just telling the truth, and y'all don't like it. It's no, you know what I'm saying? Like we can't. There's no gray area with Twitter, and that's the problem.
I mean, I think that's kind of social media has ruined people's brains in general, and you know what I mean. I think that people assume the worst intent every sentence, every
Yeah.
topic because I think it's trained you to assume that because you do see so many terrible people on social media. I think it's just trained you to just
Yeah.
be always on attack mode. I mean, myself included. I mean, you know what I mean. Any kind of misinterpretation, you know what I mean. I mean, guns are just ablazing.
you
So
can't even you can't even do bits on Twitter because you'll have somebody that will miss the joke and ruin the joke essentially.
yeah,
Like it was. Do you watch basketball?
yeah,
So they're talking about Giannis. They're like, oh yeah, Giannis doesn't have a bag. So for non-basketball fans, a bag is just basically like finesse moves, like in between the legs, you know what I'm saying? Hesitate, step back, whatever. And this dude was like, he don't have no bag, but he scored 40. And this guy was like, he didn't look as cool as Jason Tatum though. And Jason Tatum went 4-16 or some shit. And this other guy was like, bruh, but Jason Tatum had a bad game. It's like that's the joke, bro. Like that's the bit. Like, so it has its pros and cons. I'm not saying Twitter is perfect. I'm just saying like if you want to meet other people that do what you do, Twitter is great.
yeah. I mean, yeah, I think I saw one tweet that's like a classic tweet that always kind of goes around. That somebody always kind of screenshot, always shares around. I got the exact wording of it, but it was like Twitter's the only place where you could be talking about how great pancakes are, but then somebody will come in and go, "So you hate waffles?" It's like, no, bitch, that's an entirely
Yeah.
different sentence. Never said I hated waffles at all. But yeah,
Yeah.
so you'll kind of
Yeah,
have
that's
that
crazy.
experience. So with Decay issue 2, take us kind of there and kind of what's kind of going on in this issue number 2 here.
Essentially, we get the fallout from the previous issue. So somebody's back from the dead, and they want revenge. It's Smoke. That's basically it. Like, motherfuckers got to die.
And did you? I'm sorry, you didn't already tell the plot of the comic when you give your introduction, did you?
No, I did not.
Okay, so yeah, just tell a little bit people about the plot of the comic of Decay here.
Sure, absolutely. So it's about a brother and sister who are their parents died in Hurricane Katrina. They're in New Orleans. They have their own thing going on. The brother's in the wrong place at the wrong time, essentially, and she brings them back from the dead. So it's like a morale play. It's like kind of like the monkey's paw, like Frankenstein, like playing God going wrong, essentially.
And I'm bringing up. I have some panels of the comic up now on stream. I do really appreciate the artwork on this. The artwork is very nice. I kind of do love that a lot. Very, very nice, strong feature with everybody involved. Do enjoy the writing of this as well.
Thank you.
I do like the use of humor in here. It's kind of, I guess, dark humor. Would you say?
Oh, it's dark humor, like in like a Quentin Tarantino. Like when you watch a lot of the comedy is like juvenile humor. We talked about everything all at once. Like one of the jokes is that the people have hot dog fingers.
Yeah.
They have hot dog fingers. You know what I'm saying? Like it's like the most silly shit ever. So yeah, it's a lot of like dark humor. It's a lot of just kind of silliness. Like there's you somebody was roasting the comic book or not roasting it, but like it was like a roast, and they were like, "This is the funniest comic I've ever read." And I was like, you know what? That's a compliment because I hate when I'm watching something that's so serious and it's like, bro, can you throw in a joke? Can you let me know that you understand this? I mean, it's kind of silly, right? Like somebody comes back from the dead because of a necklace. Like it's kind of goofy, but you embrace the goofiness and you get some great moments that kind of like pepper in, like when you're eating something and it's like they put green onions on top for texture, they put like something crispy. That's what it is. It's just to make you feel a little something different,
Yeah. I don't know. Maybe it's because I've just seen Multiverse of Madness and it was directed by Sam Raimi. And kind of, I think Sam Raimi is very great at the horror kind of comedy stuff.
Yeah.
Do you think was that some inspiration there with Raimi and his kind of mix of like things like Evil Dead, things like Drag Me to Hell? Was it kind of you think that a little bit of an inspiration there with kind of
Sam Raimi at one point was my favorite director. So look, I will give him, and maybe I'll take the compliment, depending on how good Multiverse of Madness is. I'll take the compliment. So yeah, sure.
Okay.
Why not?
Yeah.
Great director.
Yeah, amazing director. Yeah, I was excited when he came back. He's been 9 years since he did a film, so I was excited when he came back, and it made me.
There's no way.
Yeah, the last film he did.
Oz came out 9 years ago.
Yeah, 9 years ago. Oz the Great and Powerful. Yeah, which I did appreciate that movie as well. I did appreciate Oz the Great and Powerful. Looking back at his filmography, it's like, yeah, Sam Raimi's got a lot of hits, man. Not even with the Evil Dead movies and Spider-Man movies that people bring up, but like The Quick and the Dead and The Gift.
The Coen Brothers joint. He co-wrote. He basically he made. I forgot what that shit was called, bro. The Coen Brothers wrote a script that he made, and I forgot who had it in it. But it was an amazing movie. Let me look it up.
Yeah, and like you said, I think he does kind of a really great job with that stuff. And Sam Raimi's had kind of a great legendary career in his belt. So I was surprised why. I wonder why it's been 9 years since he's directed a film. I think I haven't seen an interview or anything with him explain that, but it's great to kind of have him back. Are you interested in seeing Doctor Strange?
Absolutely. Yeah, I got spoiled, but what are you gonna do?
Where'd you get spoiled? Was it TikTok or was it Twitter or?
Oh, it was fucking Twitter. It was Twitter, of course.
Yeah.
MCU page. that didn't even have. And of course, it's like I don't follow this page. Twitter suggested, hey, you might like this spoiler.
Oh wow. Yeah, that is always kind of terrible. Are you thinking of Crime Wave? Are you thinking of that?
A Simple Plan.
Simple Plan. Okay. Yes. Simple Plan. That's also a very great movie as well. Simple Plan.
It's an amazing. So good. With Bill Paxton, rest in peace, man. I love Bill Paxton.
Yeah. Yeah. So I would I'd be interested to hear your thoughts on it. Very much so. And then kind of going into talking about Doctor Strange. Kind of want to get your opinion on what do you think are the new big cliches, big tropes now that are kind of coming into a lot of writing that you see that are kind of hindering a lot of writers.
A lot of heavy-handed social commentary, and you can blame. I don't want to say blame, but I think Jordan Peele brought in like the socially conscious genre film, which was a thing before, 100%. But he kind of like brought it back. And there's some other stuff I'm probably not thinking of. But have you seen Candyman?
Yeah.
In Candyman, when they kept saying the word gentrification, 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 it's just like, all right, bro, I get it. I'm watching Meet the Ricardos. Being the Ricardos, it's like a Aaron Sorkin movie about
Lucille Ball.
I Love Lucy.
Yeah.
Lucille Ball, right? And she's talking to what's his name, and she's like, "Are you gaslighting me?" And I'm like,
really?
Dog, you fucking serious? And somebody pointed out that like gaslighting is from like 1920s, but I'm like, okay, bro, but come on, like, come on, dog. So it's too much shoehorning in these buzzwords. Like I made a tweet is like the way to do social commentary is to talk about an issue without outright stating the issue, and it's really bad right now because you say those buzzwords, and then for some people they clap their hands like, oh, this is great writing, and then other people they're like, some people are like, this sucks now. And again, I'm just in the middle where I'm just like, look, bro, like I just want good writing, and you have the people who are like, that are like, hey, this sucks, this is too heavy-handed. It's becoming too political, and then you have the people on the other side that are like, this thing has always been political. Everything is political. You know what I'm saying? Everything is political. That doesn't mean that it can't be cringe. You know what I'm saying? Like we can't point out and be like, yeah, this kind of mid. So that's something I'm seeing is like a lot of heavy-handed social content.
And with a conversation like that, so it seems like when people talk about social comedy, like the word woke gets thrown around, right? And when I see kind of that word kind of get thrown around, it's either one, people don't even have a good fundamental understanding of what that word means or how to use the word, or two, they have a completely different definition of the word that, what it is.
Yeah.
And then also it's kind of like, it seems when they describe the issues they have with wokeness or with woke films or something like that, it seems to be just pandering is maybe the better word they should use instead of
pandering
is maybe the better word. So I kind of see that when, like, yes, films with political messages can be bad, and not all of them are good. But it just depends on, if that's the goal of the writer, it's bad because they just maybe are just doing the message wrong. It's not bad because the message is bad. Like,
yes, exactly.
To have in a film, whatever, to say that, gay people are people and then this character has two mothers or whatever, that in itself isn't bad. It's just when
they say, don't ask, if you don't ask, I won't tell, wink, wink. That's when it's some bullshit.
Yeah, that's kind of when it becomes bad. So I think there's kind of a difference there, and people say like, kind of want the writing and everything like that. So good, just good. It's like, I just want good writing, and then everything is so political, nowadays. It's like, well, I mean, a lot of stuff is political. I mean,
every piece of media is political. Like it's everything.
Yeah. I mean, it's hard. It would almost be easier. It'd be harder to name things that aren't political.
Everything is political. If something is not being political, that's political. Like it's literally, you can make the argument about, you can take something political away from everything. There are people that think Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, is like is like a dystopian story about capitalism. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like it's everything. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, and then as a creator, I mean, do you kind of feel any responsibility, like if somebody attributes something to your work that you didn't originally intend, or are you of the mindset that, well, no, you know what I mean, a person, I mean, can kind of imprint their own kind of thoughts and opinions on it? And do you think a person can be objectively wrong in asserting, like, if this project is about this? Like, for example, if somebody says Saving Private Ryan, this movie is actually, what it's trying to say is the Nazis were the victims of World War II, and it was the Americans who were the bad guys. Do you think, you think that somebody could be just objectively wrong in that kind of way?
Oh yeah. Well, I think it's like Death of the Author, right? Is that you don't necessarily have to seek out to make a point that you could make a point on accident, right? People would argue that Tolkien, like Lord of the Rings, is racist because the orcs are like references to brown people, right? Do I think Tolkien is racist? No. Do I think there's merit to that? Absolutely. Somebody pointed out that like Tolkien was the ultimate. He's British, bro. Like they're colonists. You know what I'm saying? Like so now we can't talk about intent, right? Like that's a gray area. You know what I'm saying? Like if we're talking about intent and it wasn't outright stated, that's when we get into a little messy area. You know what I'm saying? Like that's subjective. That is your perspective. So I do think they're absolute wrong readings of media. I mean, one thing that somebody said that anti Attack on Titan is like anti-Semitic, and I'm just like, no, like it's not. It's maybe a little messy. Or Zootopia, right? People will say Zootopia is racist because the lions being a metaphor for black people. Well, lions can fucking eat you, right? Does that make it does that make the person who directed Zootopia racist? No, not at all. You know what I'm saying? So it's a new. I hate the cop out, but it's all about nuance. You know?
Yeah. Or even the example kind of you brought up, you mentioned Harry Potter before, of like, well, the bankers in Harry Potter are Jewish,
Oh shit.
allegories, and people
Oh
think
shit.
that, you know what I mean, or something like that. You know what I mean?
Oh fuck.
That can kind of, I think, blur the line, because then you could say like, well, are you seeing that because that's how you see Jewish
Because
people?
you're racist. Yeah.
Or is J.K. Rowling just a person who that's how she sees kind of, you know what I mean, bankers being of, especially like, is that kind of, is it both? Is it on her? Is it mostly not? It's like, who knows.
Can I say something about that real quick? Because I don't want to. I know that's not your point, but I'm just thinking like, isn't it kind of like not a stereotype, but isn't that a thing of like where trolls or goblins like hoard their wealth? So wouldn't it make sense that they anyway? No, I'm I'm pulling out. I think it is a bit racist to think that like this thing has a this thing has attributes of stereotypes of Jewish people. It's an allegory for Jewish people. Like I'll leave it at that. That I do think that is kind of revealing. That's all I'll say.
Kind of revealing that if the person sees that those are Jewish people, or revealing that for the, okay. And that.
It's to me, we if you look at a character with attributes of stereotypes, and your first thought is like this person's racist because they made this that way. Maybe look internally. You know what I'm saying? Like maybe look inside and like, am I perpetuating these stereotypes on accident? That's all I want to elaborate.
Would you also kind of say the same thing with like Jar Jar Binks? Or
Yeah, I mean, honestly, people say it's racist, and I'm just like, the Transformers from Transformers 2 were racist. Like, come on, like those were racist, bro. Like, because he has like a, I guess a Jamaican or like an Islander.
and he had a gold tooth, and
Did he really?
I think one of them had a gold tooth, if I remember correctly.
Oh no, you're talking about Transformers. No, Transformers 2 is like absolutely racist. I don't know how they made. I still don't understand. Like, yeah, son, I'm gonna put a cap in your ass, and he had like a gold tooth and shit.
Yeah.
That is racist. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like,
Right.
there's no attributes to a sign. It's just the way that they're acting. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Right. And then with Jar Jar Binks, I think a lot of stuff was the kind of slave-ish talk. You know what I mean? I think that's what a lot of people attribute it to.
I guess I get it, but I don't think George Lucas misguided, And I think this is a result of having a male white dominated, we can say cis dominated industry. Is that shit like this slips through the cracks, and then if you have somebody come in and be like, hey, at least just be aware of this might be a certain thing. I mean, it's
Right.
it all depends, bro.
Yeah, and I'm not saying George Lucas is racist. I'm not trying to say he's racist
Yeah.
or anything like that. I mean, I just think, like you said, dealing with you have blind spots. It's okay to say that you may have blind spots in certain areas. Like, I think Stephen King, I think when he has black characters in his books,
Oh shit.
there's some, like when he portrays the way he portrays black people. I think in his kind of mind, I think he's doing a favor, like having characters like Michael Clark Duncan's character from Green Mile or Morgan Freeman's character.
Shit.
It's just that these are such kind of lovely, wisdom, full of wisdom kind of characters,
Right.
But it's
Right.
it's yeah, it can be kind of an
There's
issue.
probably a bit of truth that like some people acted like that as back then too. Like it's unfortunate, but it might even be accurate. I mean, you watch 12 Years a Slave, and they had these motherfuckers talking in like Shakespearean, and I'm like, I don't know if this is, what I'm saying. So I don't know. I wasn't there. Who knows?
Right? Yeah.
That's fun. You brought up Stephen King, J.K. Rowling. Who else?
Yeah, George R. R. Martin. Well, George R. R. Martin. I mean, who's any black characters in George?
Shit. It wasn't black people. It was like the brown people were like the Dothraki. They're just
Yeah, kind of. I guess
I don't want to say savages, but that's essentially what they were. Like,
I guess. Yeah.
Well, what do you mean? Like they would like it was like they had like they would cut the head. They were like the pillagers.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Less
said about that.
But I guess do you know who the Dorn people, like who they're supposed to represent? I guess.
I think I would assume like
Spaniards,
Easterners. You know what I'm saying? Like maybe Spain.
Okay.
Maybe.
Yeah. Yeah, but again, no shot at George R. R. Martin. Love George R. R. Martin. Love his work. Like Game of Thrones, you know what I mean? The show, not the last 2 seasons, but still I think a solid show. So yeah, again, nothing.
We're just having a conversation about
about writers.
Author intent.
Yeah, writers' intent. Yes, having a discussion about that type of stuff. So
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. All right, I'm gonna be kind of let you get out of here, man.
Okay.
This was great though, man. Thank you for coming by. Let people know you have a Kickstarter, right? For issue 2. Let people know about. I'm gonna bring up that page of the Kickstarter. Let everybody know about that.
Hell yeah. Absolutely. So I got some great rewards. I got physical copies of the comic book. I got 2 variant covers. I got necklaces I got merch, stickers. You can get drawn in. There's a lot of great rewards. There's a great video. Yeah, we worked our asses off, It's you could tell them it's a good product. We work very hard.
Okay, I'm trying to bring up your link to your Kickstarter right now. Everything like that.
You got it?
No, I'm just trying to. Yeah, it's my internet's just kind of slow at the moment. I'm sorry about that.
Oh yeah. No, 100% fine.
Sorry about that. Yeah, but I'm just trying to bring that up right now. But yeah, I mean, this was a great conversation. Love talking to you. Always love having conversations and discussions with you about a lot of this kind of different stuff. So that's always really really important. Yeah, and we go down the rabbit hole of everything. Movies, shows, writers, media. I also kind of wanted to ask you, what is the kind of community like for comic book writer, and especially for a black comic book writer? What's that kind of community like for you?
Okay. All right. So there's, I didn't have a lot of, this guy asked me if there are a lot of black comic book, and I said I didn't know a lot of them, but black comic book fans are more of a fan of like the shonen, like manga style. And there's overlap. I'm not trying to gatekeep. I'm just saying like, that's typically, because again, we grew up on Dragon Ball Z, Death Note, all that stuff. So typically, if you're in your 20s, 30s, you like Dragon Ball Z type shit, right? So it's more manga inspired over there. That's where Black Twitter is. You have indie comic Twitter, which again, black people. There's the black comic Twitter. They they can mix. It's fantastic. It's really great. It's like really a really nice community. Everybody's super helpful. Super like I haven't done them like I haven't counted, but I probably had like most of them, probably like 30 of my backings have been from other fellow creators, which is a great feeling. And then you have the other side of the coin, which is these comic book creators called Comic Gate, and it's a mess, bro. Like they're basically essentially when your comic book sucks and you can't you say your Comic Gate to get an audience, but the comic like ultimately like and then you kind of pigeonhole yourself to only a specific audience will fuck with you because the Comic Gate guys like harassed these creators that were a part of some diversity initiative by DC or Marvel. It's messy. So just like anything, there's like an alt-right underbelly to it. It seems that way.
Oh yeah.
So,
I've heard of Comics Gate. Yeah. I've heard of that.
Bro, it's a fucking mess, dog. It's a fucking mess. So ultimately, I love any comic Twitter. I might hop in a space after this. I might talk to. I got a space tomorrow. Like I love it. I love it. I love it.
Okay, so it's pretty good for the most part.
I love it, man. They give me so much knowledge. Man, it's crazy.
Okay, so I have your Kickstarter up right now. Yeah. So Decay issue 1 through 2 Revenge Tour. I'm have it up right now. The link is also in your Twitter. What's your Twitter for people?
Yeah. At Stokes the Writer.
And do you have any other social media? Anything like that?
Instagram.com/Decay Comic.
Awesome stuff. Thank you for joining me, man. Much appreciated. Thank you for stopping by.
Absolutely, man. You take it easy.
All right, you too, man. Have a good one.
You too. Peace.